Here we are in beautiful, sunny Northern California, Sonoma Raceway. I'm Jonathan Grace. My commentary partner this afternoon is Ryan Marine. Amanda Busick will be with us later, patrolling pit lane, pre- and post-race ceremonies. Rounds 3 and 4 of Toyota GR Cup North America. They got the season kicked off on the streets of Arlington, and we've come now to the first full SRO America weekend to continue what has been a phenomenal championship fight so far. A 1-2 punch for both Jeremy Fletcher and Spike Kohlbecker. They are our two championship protagonists. It's a picturesque weekend here in Sonoma in the beautiful California wine country, 82.5 degrees Fahrenheit. Track temperature has cooled off considerably from the last racing action we have, nearly matching the ambient. That will be ideal for the grip in these momentum-based GR86 Cup cars. Ryan, I think the stage is set for phenomenal third and fourth rounds and what we expect to be a hotly contested championship battle.
We do. That's what we've seen so far. Two drivers have split both of the races that we've run so far, Spike Kohlbecker, Jeremy Fletcher. And also, if you look at how it broke down at Arlington, it was Kohlbecker who had the fastest lap in both of the races, but Fletcher had both poles. Now the shoe's on the other foot a little bit. Kohlbecker does have pole position here for race number 1, but it seems like it's really close up at the front, and they'll have some company in the form of Robusto, Goulart, Schweid, and so many others.
Well, that's the thing, is this championship battle, it's really hard to even pick favorites early on because there's 5 or 6 drivers that realistically are immediately in the conversation, much less anyone else that rises to the fore as we continue to see the racing action here. These cars, these GR86 Cup cars, identical machinery, remarkably similar to the GR86s that you can buy from Toyota, just modified and made safer and a little bit faster for racing applications as well.
Fantastic race cars. They race really well close together, but 2.4-liter four-cylinder engines weighing in at just about 2,700 pounds, a little bit more than that. Not too much aero on these cars, and that's a good thing, I say. They slide around. It's spectacular to watch, and they can stay in close proximity. What we've seen in the short history of this championship is these are races you do not want to miss.
No, absolutely. They will run close together. We see it in qualifying. We see it in practice. We see it especially on display when it comes time to go racing. The only SRO America Championship that's kicked off its racing before coming in to this weekend. And so some of these drivers will already be familiar with one another on track. But for many of the field, this is their first time at Sonoma Raceway, maybe their first time in a race car. And we have some returners as well, Spike Kohlbecker and Jeremy Fletcher among them. Let's take a look at the beautiful, stunning 2.52-mile racing circuit that these drivers will be navigating. 1,600 green acres and 11 grueling turns. Not a ton of straightaways, but for these momentum-based cars, Ryan, plenty of places to make moves, plenty of places to go side by side.
Couldn't be much more different than the way we started the season with the street course in Arlington. And from a relatively flat concrete jungle, we go to the rolling hills of Northern California. The elevation change is really what makes this place special. Roughly 15 stories of elevation from the high point to the low point around a single lap. It is breathtaking stuff, and drivers will tell you when they come here for the first time, when you get to the top of the hill, you wonder, is there anything on the other side? So steep is the incline.
Yeah, it's amazing to watch. We've been treated to some onboards throughout the course of this weekend, and just following along and watching the racing action. I think the fans in attendance around Sonoma, it appears, at least to the eyes, to be a record crowd. There's a ton of people out here, and it's really, really great to see this much excitement around SRO America and around what's a really, really phenomenal single-make championship for Toyota.
Talked to the SRO staff earlier today, and they say they're already up 100% in ticket sales year on year, one year to the next, and it's only Saturday, so room to grow tomorrow. If you're in the area and you're thinking about maybe coming out, urge you to do so. The weather is great, the action's been fantastic, and of course another GR Cup race still on the docket.
Yeah, these are always some of my favorite of the weekend, and that's not me blowing smoke or being paid to say that. I love these little cars. I used to own an earlier iteration of this car, and I love them so much. They're so much fun to drive. These cars have just the perfect amount of power. They weigh almost nothing. These Continental tires are plenty grippy, and you mentioned a lack of aerodynamics, but that makes you rely on mechanical grip and how you manage the tires, the weight transfer of the car. You have to put a lot of faith in the 4 pieces of rubber connecting you to the racetrack rather than some big wing angles. You can see the cars lined up 2 by 2 by 2. It's Spike Kohlbecker who will start on pole position. He'll have Jeremy Fletcher for company for Copeland Motorsports. We'll run you through the full grid later because we are just moments away from the command to fire up these beautiful sounding 4-cylinder engines, these little boxer engines as well. Just so much fun, so much character, so beautifully balanced as well. And it's pretty much just the same engine that's straight out of the road car.
One of the things that makes this so appealing for sure And the command has been given. The engines roar to life. And pretty soon they'll be roaring at full song around this great racetrack.
That they will. And a healthy field, it has to be said as well. 27 cars here. It is packed, and track space and track real estate has been at a premium. We've seen that in practice sessions. We've seen that in qualifying. We're going to see a great example of it here during the race. See how wide they can run up until turn 1, turn 2. They go behind the Toyota GR86 safety car. We're almost ready to kick off this racing action. The streets of Arlington didn't disappoint. We saw plenty of action there. I think Sonoma is going to produce as well. Like you said, a markedly different circuit, a huge different challenge for these teams. And I'm curious to see if Spike Kohlbecker and Jeremy Fletcher remain the favorite two when this race is all said and done, because there's a lot of other contenders that have improved throughout the weekend and that really want to make a splash in this championship. Will Robusto, Ethan Goulart, Max Schweid, Beltre Curtis. My goodness, he made a big step in the offseason.
Massive step forward, and to have a year of experience under your belt, you know the car, you know the tracks, you know the tire, you know at least most of the competitors, although there are an intriguing crop of rookies in this field as well that we'll be watching all season long.
Let's take a look at the starting grid and the order for this race. Spike Kohlbecker on the pole, Jeremy Fletcher for Copeland Motorsports for Company. Will Robusto for RVA Graphics Motorsport by Speed Syndicate. He's second on the grid. We take a look back to Max Schweid for the back in 5th, Beltre Curtis in 6th, Parker DeLong in 7th, with Malbec Ramos for Tech Sport Racing in 8th. Michael Edwards is 9th, Ethan Ayers is 10th, Jensen Sofronis is in 11th, with Garrett Thomas and his RBA machine in 12th. Joseph Malley is 13th, and 14th, Livo Galanti. Nathan Dupuis in 15th, with Emilio DeLauro in 16th, Jake Thomas in 17th for Nitro Motorsport, Jared Oderick in 18th, Liam Harrison in 19th, Maite Caceres for Rafa. 21st is Ava Schletz, Ryan Power 22nd, Patrick Brunson 23rd, Massimo Sinceri in 24th. Carter Wilson 25th, Alistair Arojo in 26th, and Peyton Fan bringing up the rear of the field 27th as well for Copeland Motorsports. It's a packed grid, Ryan. I'm curious to see if everyone's going to get through turn 1 cleanly, because that has been a feature of this race. The racing action across the board has been pretty clean. I know Race Direction will have been in their ear to say have a good, safe race, and the racing is always as close as ever in these cars.
Talked to Charlie Kimball right before we came on air, who a former IndyCar driver, of course, and he's the one running these drivers' meetings this year, trying to keep everybody in line. The message has been sent. We expect this to be a non-contact sport here this weekend in Sonoma. A little too much contact for his liking in the first 2 races of the season.
We'll see if they clean it up here in Sonoma. They've got a beautiful setting to do it. Spike Kohlbecker and Jeremy Fletcher, the favorite two in the first couple of rounds. They've been the fastest two this weekend. But a hungry Will Robusto, a hungry Ethan Goulart just behind. They round the final corner as they get ready to take the green flag and enter the acceleration zone that just is on the front end of the straightaway. Eagerly awaiting that little kink to the left before we can get racing, and they come into the view of our commentary box. That bright blue car of Spike Kohlbecker gets on the loud pedal and gets just a nose, but it's only a nose in front of Jeremy Fletcher, and they make contact before we've even hit the apex for turn 1, and that's opened the door for Will Robusto. Ethan Goulart will want to pick up the pieces as well. Spike Kohlbecker, fresh off that contact, has got a couple of car lengths advantage, but now it's Will Robusto all over the back of Jeremy Fletcher, and he's going off track. So too is Max Schweid behind. They're still 2x2. Dipping the nose in is Robusto. Finally thinks better of it, tucks into third, but there's Ethan Goulart over the 98 of Schweid as well. But all the while, Spike Kohlbecker has pranced away.
Well, not exactly the contactless start that Charlie Kimball was asking for, but everyone's been able to continue on. That was dramatic stuff to see the front row come together on the run to turn 1.
Absolutely, a little puff of smoke off the Continental tires as they kissed on the main straightaway, but everyone has stayed the right way, nose pointed forward. Spike Kohlbecker still leads on timing and scoring. Jeremy Fletcher, though, just behind. Further back, Jensen Sofronis has a full windshield full of dirt as one of the cars ahead is kicked up a little bit. Now he's got some company further back in the order. Malbec Ramos was going just a little bit wide, and he's going to have to defend behind from Garrett Maines. And look, the three of them go side by side by side. Garrett Maines trying to sweep around the outside, and he will make the move on the number 41 Copeland Motorsports driver as they make their way down towards the S's for the first time. At the head of the field, Spike Kohlbecker still leads, but the pack is well and truly bunched up and kicking up a little bit of smoke flares and dirt in this beautiful Sonoma dirt as they use all of the racetrack that's available to them, bunching up in the chicane in turns 9 and 9A, using all of the curbs and then some. And they're still side by side, Ryan. It's incredible to watch.
Well, Maines has been the man on the move here in the early going, picking up a couple of positions and lined up 12th. Here he is working his way to the outside of Ramos, trying to grab yet another spot here on the opening lap. Can't quite stay alongside the 17, has to fall back in line just in front of Jensen Sifronis in the 41.
It doesn't seem like it's sacrificed his run all that much. He's gotten right back up onto the rear bumper of the Tech Sport driver as well as they roar past the start-finish line. And look at the two of them glued nose to tail as they head up the hill, all but sideways as they hit the brakes for one and then change direction for two. It's Sifronis who has to give way just a little bit, but Garrett Maines is still trying to make up a place on the 17 Tech Sport just in front.
That's what we were talking about earlier. These cars might not make a ton of downforce, but they slide and slip around, and it's absolutely dramatic to watch. Really fun stuff here in the early going. Looks like we're taking a peek in here at Parker DeLong, trying to hang on to the 6th spot. He's got Beltrick Curtis breathing down his neck.
Absolutely. Max Schweid in the 98 is just behind, and Beltray Curtis wants to get on the action as well, but he's got Ethan Ayers for company. That Segret liveried car, the 98, you can barely see him hiding behind the 42. When does he pop out into the braking zone for 7? He doesn't. He stays tucked in. I wonder if he takes a little bit of a different line. Going a little wide is Parker DeLong. Staying right with him is Schweid, though. They are absolutely glued together down through the S's. You couldn't get much closer if you tried. Spike Kohlbecker still leads this field, but it's Jeremy Fletcher, Will Robusto, Ethan Goulart, and Parker DeLong all in quick succession. And now we go side by side. That's the 78 further back, and a huge spin, taking out some of the signage as well. That'll be unsighted. And how does that shuffle out? Because now you've got the signage to contend with, and going blind effectively into 9 and 9A. We'll get an ID on that car. That's Beltray Curtis in the number 5, who's got to try to shake some of that Skip Barber signage. It's great advertising for the racing school, but you can see him bobbing and weaving, and he nearly took out one of the Eagles Canyon cars just behind him. Now breaking into 11, going well wide and giving racing room. But Beltray Curtis has got to try to shake that signage, or race control might have to get involved. You can see him wiggling on the straightaway.
Really close to contact with Livio Galanti there as he tried for the first time to shake the signage off the nose of the car. His better bet might be to slow down and hope it falls off before then speeding off again. You need to do that when you're in this big pack, especially in a momentum car. Let's look at this again and how it's set up. Stuck to the outside, little hip and shoulder, and then great job keeping it off the wall. And an even better save, perhaps, as he almost slid right back in front of traffic, but was able to hang on.
Golly, went side by side with, it's Jeremy Fletcher. Disaster for Jeremy Fletcher, has an issue. He was running second on the road. Now trying to get that car up to speed. Is it a mechanical issue? Did he go off the road? We have yet to be seen. Let's take another look at it here. Up the hill, takes a bunch of curb, locks those Continental tires up, and just barely keeping it out of the tire wall, Ryan. Those Continentals won't be happy about it, but I can tell you his mechanics will, because that saved them a whole heck of a lot of repair work overnight, but he's gonna have ground to make up.
To my eye, it looked like he caught a bit of that curb there at the apex, and it kicked him out wide, caused the lockup, and did well to keep that car out of the wall. Like you say, Curtis still has not been able to shake that signage in the front of the car, and now you start to wonder if heating and overheating could become an issue with the air ducts blocked off.
Well, he's back to the scene of the crime where he collected that signage a full lap ago, and he's slipping back and back and back at those temperatures. I imagine the cockpit would be rising and rising. Not a terribly hot day, but with signage blocking that crucial cold ram airflow, that will start to affect the performance of the car. Further up top, we have Max Schweid trying to set his sights on the number 42 of Parker DeLong. And they're glued nose to tail. This is the battle for 4th and 5th on the road.
DeLong finished 4th and 5th in the 2 races in Arlington. 4th in race 1, 5th in race 2. Comes in 21 points out of the championship lead. As for Max Schweid, he has the 2nd most points. It's a tie at the top, of course. Kohlbecker and the Fletcher machine, they had scored maximum points, or they split the 2 wins, I should say, between the 2 events, 1st and 2nd in both of them, so they're even coming into this. Schweid just behind, 16 points back. Best finish on the year, a 3rd so far, trying to get up a couple of more spots. He's in the tire tracks of DeLong here. A little puff of smoke from the right front of DeLong.
and still just nose to tail as they try to make position. Some notes from race control, the incidents between the car 90 and 85 under review, and we saw Beltray Curtis on your pictures come into pit lane just to try to shake some of that signage. We're also seeing Jeremy Fletcher come into pit lane. Does he have an inoperable issue with his car as well? The 93 stops in its box, but the main concern is that Copeland driver, because that is absolutely an unscheduled stop.
Wow, that is really difficult there for Jeremy, who had such a good start to the season. As mentioned, comes in as the joint championship leader on the strength of a second place in race 1 at Arlington, the win in race 2, pole for both races, and was there once again in the top 2 at the time of that issue. This is a super competitive championship, and it's very costly to throw away points. Looks like it's going to be very difficult for him to score points today.
It absolutely is. He is spending a lot of time stationary and now finally gets going, but he will be far down the order. You can see on the number plate on the left-hand side the Continental tire mark from that initial contact with Spike Kohlbecker, who was pranced out to quite a bit of a lead. You're looking on screen with Ethan Goulart, who's leading DeLong and Schweid just behind. That's still the battle for 4th and 5th on the road. Will Robusto promoted effectively into 2nd place after the woes for Jeremy Fletcher. He will be rubbing his hands and trying to cut down that 2.2 second lead. But Ethan Goulart for BSI Racing, just about 4.2 seconds off the lead, will be trying to close that gap as well.
Spike Kohlbecker, the leader, has just done the best lap of the race. He has the best sector times in sectors 1 and 2. Here comes the fight, though, from the top of the hill, really close. DeLong and Schweid. DeLong just barely able to hang on.
Yeah, that was nip and tuck. Absolutely hip and shoulder through there. Ethan Goulart, meanwhile, will be watching this race, or hopefully not watching too much in his mirrors, because he doesn't want them to catch up too close. He wants to set his sights on Will Robusto ahead, but these two are not going anywhere despite the fact that they're squabbling over position. Look at the slip angle from the 98 coming down the hill there. It's such a tricky corner. You're turning, you have steering lock in, the car is unweighted, you're going downhill, and it's such a long patience corner before one of the most important corners on the track, 6A, to set up that little run down the drag strip into 7. Hard on the brakes, tipping the nose in, down into 7 and 7A. Ethan Goulart still in front. But boy, Ryan, as we take a little bit of a break, my goodness, 36 minutes to go and so much action already. Let's take a look at the start of this race and what happened so far. It was drama right from the get-go. Hip and shoulder, Spike Kohlbecker making contact with Jeremy Fletcher. Two of them going side by side. Will Robusto trying to go in on the action as well. And look at how close it was. Will Robusto going all the way out onto the dirt. Set up the situation we're in now. Well, Jeremy Fletcher, his race has unraveled quite a bit. He goes back through past our commentary box, but he is well down the order, having lost significant time. He is out of contention and then some for this race. But this is the race that we've been keeping our eyes on as well. Ethan Goulart holding station in 3rd, but he's got a great battle behind him for 4th and 5th.
It's a good bounce back for Ethan. I think it's safe to say Arlington didn't quite go according to plan if he had championship aspirations, and I think it's safe to say he did coming into the season. Just a pair of 8th place finishes to show from the season opener. In the meantime, this is some news. We've got a drive-through penalty handed down. That goes the way of Carter Wilson. So that's some contact I don't believe we saw, unless that was with, or, well, anyway, we'll have to check on that. But in any event, there will be a drive-through penalty. Wilson serving that right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And this battle continues to rage on between Parker DeLong and Max Schweid, and now they go side by side. Schweid just on the rear fender. And look at the run, he's gone out at 6A. He might get this move done before the braking zone, but he's on the unfavorable part of the racetrack, but he's a full car length ahead and coming back in the braking zone and clipping part of that turn 7 corner. And look at the rotation from Schweid. He's come back on the outside using the grip on the outside of the racetrack, but he's hopping the curbs to do it. Has to fall back in line as they hit 8 and 8A. Ethan Goulart prancing away in the distance. But I have a feeling, Ryan, into 9, this one might not be done yet.
No, I don't think so. DeLong closed off that initial line of attack, but Schweid still sizing him up, and DeLong goes wide down into the chicane, leaves the racing surface. That opens the door up to the inside. Here he comes. Battle for 4th and 5th. Schweid now working his way around the outside.
Schweid has been Mr. Outside in this race, and he continues to do so through turn 10. He's going to be hanging around the outside at turn 11. Such a tight technical corner. Look at the difference in line as DeLong goes inside, little puff off of Continental Tire smoke as they're hard and abusing those. Another trip down pit lane you can see just on your screen for Fletcher there, but neither of these two drivers will be minding it. No, neither two will. Ethan Goulart ahead, side by side as they cross start finish. Again on the outside is Max Schweid, and cementing his position as they hit turn one. That is a high commitment part of the racetrack, Ryan.
That was really well done. It all started in the chicane when DeLong ran long and allowed Schweid to get alongside in the run to turn 11, and he never really seemed intent on making the move around the outside in 11. Instead, gave up the entry to the corner, crossed him over, got the great run out of the corner, and stayed at the flank long enough to grab the position heading up the hill into turn one. Really outstanding stuff, and now he sets off in pursuit of Ethan Goulart.
We have a look here at some of our race starters. You can see Beltre Curtis, after that contact with the barrier, fell significantly. But one of our biggest movers and groovers so far has been Peyton Fahan. Started last on the grid, moved up 6 positions to 21st.
Not just last, but a pit lane start.
That's right.
That's a penalty that carries over from an incident that I believe was race 1 in Arlington, and had to serve that at the beginning. So pretty good job to recover from that, even without a safety car intervention.
Yeah, that's driving with the head down, and expect her to make more progress as this goes on. Fastest Sector 1 belongs to Max Schweid. Fastest racing lap belongs to the Tech Sport Racing driver, Spike Kohlbecker. He commands the field. More battles, unsurprisingly, raging on here. Sofronis, as we saw in Arlington, he had a busy couple of races, involved in multiple battles. He's looking at the back of Michael Edwards, but he's got Joseph Malley for company just behind.
Mike Edwards, son of former NASCAR, what's now O'Reilly Auto Parts Series champion Carl Edwards, multi-time race winner in the Cup Series and championship contender, young man with a bright future ahead of him. Told me earlier this weekend, I'm only Michael if I'm in trouble. I'd like to be Mike otherwise. So I told him, okay, but as soon as you get a penalty, you're Michael again.
Fair enough. Well, he's Mike for the time being, but he's got Sofronis all over the back of him. You talk about young drivers with a bright future. Jensen will be learning from James Sofronis, his father. Hard to believe he's just a teenager, still in high school. He's been such a mature driver so far this season.
Well, that's true of both of these. Drivers, if you think about it. Both have famous racing fathers. Both got started in this series quite young, just in their early teens. I mean, Jensen Sofronis made his first start at 14 as well. So very similar. The difference is Jensen now has a year plus of experience under his belt, where Mike's still learning all of this stuff, drinking from the fire hose.
Yeah, and I think it's starting to show for Sofronis as well. Some pace starting to show for Max Schweid as well. Fastest man on track, a 1:52.102 for the RBA Graphics Motorsport by Speed Syndicate driver. He's another driver, Ryan, that I think is immediately in the conversation when you talk about titles. Had some strong results last season, looking to build on that and really focus on putting some solid top 3 finishes on the board this year.
To your point, 8th in the championship last year, but the second half of the year it really started to click for Max from Boca Raton, Florida. Got his first podium in race 2 of the doubleheader at Elkhart Lake. Actually started on pole in race 1 at Road America a year ago, and carries that momentum forward, gets on the podium in the first race of the season at Arlington, just 16 points out of the championship lead. And now that he's clear of some of that traffic, you're seeing these fast lap times click in. A 1:52.1 the last time by. That was marginally quicker than the race leader, Spike Kohlbecker.
Yeah, that's true. And you mentioned him trying to set his sights on Ethan Goulart in front. He's 1.6 seconds back off of the BSI Racing driver. Had a chance to catch up with Shea Holbrook earlier in the weekend. We'll talk about that more in a second, because Massimo Sinceri, one of the drivers under her tent, is busy as well. We got a shot of Peyton Fahan and some of the progress she's been making in this race. This is a battle further back in the order, but no shortage of action here. Phaeton in 21st at the moment, but Ryan Power is just ahead. So too is Maite Caceres for Rafa Racing Team.
Fahan here last year didn't have the best run, 26th and 24th in the 2 races at Sonoma Raceway last year. As mentioned at the start of the pit lane, the reason that carried over event to event, even though it happened in the first race in Arlington, is she didn't take the start in race 2, so that was still hanging over her, but served that penalty and is doing a good job to recover.
Big job from the crew, too. That car, I saw it come off the truck from Arlington, still carrying heavy damage. A lot of work to get Peyton Fain up and running in her car, and has done a great job of it. It's been smooth sailing for her throughout the whole weekend, and that's a great turnaround for her. That's going to set the tone for the rest of her season. Ethan Goulart will be looking to have a big season as well. Mentioned talking with Shea Holbrook, saying that the expectations on Ethan are really high for this year. She said, expect this to be maybe one of the biggest growth years for Ethan Goulart that he's ever had in his racing career. She talked about the differences in racing drivers just riding the high of momentum and success, and sometimes when they start to plateau, that's when BSI likes to get a hold of them and likes to really work on them. It worked with Weston Workman. That was a huge turnaround last year, and look how successful that was.
Well, read my mind. That's exactly what I was thinking. The question with Weston coming into last year, we knew he was quick, but could he put it all together and start to win some races? And by Sebring, we found out the answer to that was yes, and after that, he hasn't stopped winning. In fact, he just won a couple of races here this weekend in GT4 America. So in the GT4 car, really doing a great job representing GR Cup at the next step of the ladder. Not sure Ethan's thinking about any of that right now. He's got company. Max Schweid, it has not taken him long to run down Goulart now.
No, Schweid set that fastest lap of the race and continued to put that pace and the pedal to the metal. Ethan Goulart is going to have to go defensive here. Goulart standing in the podium position at the moment in third. Will want to make that momentum forward, but it's hard to do that when you're driving in your mirrors. And look at already the pressure from Schweid in a sector of the track where you wouldn't normally try to set up a move.
No, not typically, but sometimes you got to be a bit creative. He gets a great run there, and clearly Goulart felt it because he covered off the line of approach to the inside, shut the door on Schweid, kicking up some dust in the process. For now, Goulart's got enough to hang on to the spot, the reigning Rookie of the Year in Toyota GR Cup North America.
Absolutely, he's going to have to drive like a veteran if he wants to keep Max Schweid behind, because there is so much pace in that 98 machine. They come out of 6A and head on to the back end of the drag strip here at Sonoma Raceway, and look at Max Schweid already popping out of the toe. Ethan Goulart hanging steadfast on the racing line. How tight does he cut this entry? Do we see any differential in line? Schweid, as he had done with moves past, hanging around the outside and just pushing Ethan Goulart as they set up for the S's.
Schweid now has the best sector times through sectors 2 and 3. We're in that part of the racetrack here. No one's been quicker through this part of Sonoma Raceway throughout this race to this point, and Schweid is feeling it, looking to the inside, pulls back in line, decides now's not the time to try and make that move. Quick hands by Goulart there. He's got his hands full. You can see the white gloves flashing through the windscreen, but just enough to hang on. Now we'll see what Schweid can do as he gets that little bit closer down toward the hairpin.
Yes, he does. Schweid checks back in, though. Will maybe try to set up a move out of 11. He's been surprisingly strong in the launch out of 11 as well. Look at him using that curb to rotate the car. Ethan Goulart, I think, actually got the better drive off the corner of the two of them. But really, I mean, it's a cigarette paper between the two of them. You can't separate them at all. We saw it get spicy in the first sector of the racetrack. There's hardly anything between them as they go up the hill into one.
Now, you talked earlier about drivers with famous racing fathers that are new in their career, and Ethan Goulart falls into that category as well. His dad, Elevon, a longtime competitor in this paddock, going back years and years to the World Challenge days. Ethan himself came up through the amateur racing ranks, winning a national championship at the SCCA runoffs in his class back in 2024, and has been a busy guy running a couple different single make series over the last few years. As mentioned, Rookie of the Year here in Toyota GR Cup last year, and finished 6th in the championship as a rookie, including a race win and a handful of podiums sprinkled in as well. Really solid rookie season, and now building on that experience here in year 2.
Still early in the season, just rounds 3 and 4. These are two of the drivers that could be in the championship conversation when we hit the final couple of rounds here in Indianapolis. Max Schweid, though, will not be focused on any of that. He is focused forward on trying to collect a podium and maybe more. The top two have broken away, Kohlbecker and Robusto, but this is where the action is at the moment. Ethan Goulart holding on firmly to the final step of the podium as it stands, and just about 2 car lengths ahead as they hit the braking zone. And look at Schweid close up into the chicane. He's so strong on the brakes, and he took, I don't think he could have taken any more curb. He went darn near in the dirt there, but hasn't lost any time to Ethan Goulart in front.
Crucially, as long as one wheel is in touch with the racing surface and the curbs count as the racing surface, then all's good. Continue racing, and he definitely had that taken care of, so no worries there about exceeding track limits or anything like that. This is a driver in Max Schweid who has great mechanical sympathy. He's studying mechanical engineering in college right now. And when in high school, he was a member of the school robotics team. So he knows how these cars work inside and out.
And that's such an advantage as well. In these race cars that are all effectively identical, there is a little bit of a setup window, but it's fairly limited in terms of what you can adjust, and that's by design. That's to let the drivers focus on just that, on driving the race car, developing their skill. It's part of the beauty of this GR86 platform. There's a lot of adjustability that can come in higher levels of racing. This is a great teaching tool for that. Schweid thinking about a move into 5 as they set up the run down the hill, thinking better of it. Ethan Goulart stays out front for now. But wait for the direction change as they flick the cars left and down the hill. Look at the body language of the car. These Continental tires are absolutely getting workout. Schweid with a little bit shallow of a line. I think that might set up a bit better of a run as they head down the drag strip towards turn 7. Schweid fading towards that inside wall, now that outside wall. As we've been accustomed to him seeing how wide does he go here. He's loved that outside line in turn 7. Goes way wide to set up 7A. Hop a little bit of curve, but not too much. Now looking to reel in Ethan Goulart in this section of the S's.
Schweid right in the tire tracks of Goulart. That's the primarily purple car sitting second in these train. Just behind them, Ethan Ayres is inching closer as these two battle amongst themselves. Goulart neat and tidy this time through the chicane, but look how much curve. You're right, second straight lap, we've seen that out of Schweid. Seems like he's quite comfortable putting the car up on 2 wheels if that's what it takes.
Yeah, absolutely, and now just thinking about a move into 11 and tucking back and thinking better of it. You mentioned Ethan Ayres in the back of the frame, another driver who could potentially be in the championship conversation. We'll hold that thought for now because Max Schweid is thinking about trying to get 3rd place, and he's looking every which way. He's trying every trick in the book, Ryan, to let Ethan Goulart know he's there. I think Ethan is well aware of that fact. He's just driving with his head down, very focused, very composed, and not making any mistakes right now.
By this stage in the duel, Ethan will have seen just about anything that Max has up his sleeve. And you think maybe Max has to try something a bit unconventional, including putting the bumper to the leading car just a moment ago. Oh, this is a late move to the inside. Goulart left the door open, saw him coming.
Oh boy. Are they going to make contact? No, they go side by side, still just a nose ahead, but it's going to be Ethan Goulart as they flick down the hill into 6th with the favorable line, taps the brakes to get the nose in, but it's Max Schweid as he's been comfortable doing on the outside. How much does he hang on? He's going to have to tuck back into the slipstream. Not much of it though. It goes wide onto the grass. There goes all that hard work and momentum. Doesn't lose too much ground, but he does open the door and let Parker DeLong through. He lets Ethan Ayres through, and now he's got even more ground to make up. And Ethan Goulart now has a new challenge on his hands.
Yeah, exactly. So you might have seen all the tricks from Schweid. He's got a new challenger he's going to have to fend off here for the final 21 minutes and 11 seconds. Not an easy feat. Wow, that's a shame for Schweid because it looked like he was really the aggressor in that. Ended up off track though, lost the momentum, lost 2 positions, lucky not to lose a 3rd.
Ethan Goulart though, when he thought he could get a little bit of breathing room with Max Schweid going off track, no sir, it's Tech Sports Racing, Parker DeLong who was right in his mirrors. Ethan Ayres did not race at Arlington, did a partial season last year. He has come here with a mission to try to win the GR Cup North America title, but he's had Max Schweid to contend with right away. Schweid has done a good job of ditching some of the Sonoma dirt and grass that he collected going off track in pursuit of Ethan Goulart, and he's hanging right on the bumper of the BSI driver right now. You guessed it, around the outside. He's going to have to tuck in before 1, but he's letting him know he's there. They're still side by side. No, he's not going away. He is going to try it into 1. That's a high commitment part of the racetrack, Ryan. That is a gutsy move, but he made it stick.
Oh, that's outstanding. He loves it. High, wide, and handsome, doesn't he? Perfectly comfortable being offline. We didn't even seen him do it at the end of the drag strip where there's a bunch of grass on the track. That doesn't dissuade him at all. I think it maybe a little red mist to drive through too. Not exactly pleased, I'm sure, about getting shuffled back down the lineup like that.
All of a sudden, Ethan Goulart has got to start to get on the loud pedal here. There's quite a bit of a gap up front to Kohlbecker and Robusto, who run 1-2, but Goulart has hung on to 3rd position. This is the battle for the final place on the podium. If Parker DeLong is not able to make an impression, I have a feeling Max Schweid, who's passed him once in this race already, might have a chance to do it again here. And then Ethan Goulart, with less than 20 minutes to go, is going to have to worry about the 98 driver again.
Well, this is great news if you're Ethan Goulart, to your point. Watching now in the rearview mirror, the battles start to break out once again, and maybe that's the respite he needs to calm himself down, get in a rhythm once again, and maybe pull a bit of a gap. It does seem like Schweid has the measure of this pack of cars in terms of raw pace, but finding a way by, that's going to be the challenge. He's already gotten by DeLong once. We'll see if he can do it again.
Well, I'm curious to see what DeLong learned from the last time, because Schweid was hanging it out comfortably on the outside of the 42 on plenty of occasions. Not an easy thing to do. It is almost always the more difficult line to take, but Max Schweid, plenty of confidence in his Toyota GR86 Cup car, pops to the inside, letting DeLong know he's there, tucks back in. He's been really strong through 11 as well. Look at him close up in the braking zone. The confidence that Schweid has had on the brakes today has been so impressive.
Yeah, that car very much to his liking. You could tell he's willing to take some risks with it. Had the fastest lap of the race for a time. That's just been taken back, by the way, by Spike Kohlbecker. This is coming deep into the race. Impressive the longevity of the tires here that Continental has brought to the table. Able to see so many drivers, a half dozen or so, just did their best lap of the race the last time by.
Sonoma, not always known for being the most difficult racetrack on the calendar on tires, but you could hear it in the tires squeal for these cars and these Toyota GR86 Cup cars. They are putting them through their paces, and putting Parker DeLong through his paces is Max Schweid. Pops to the inside, still letting him know he's there. DeLong has to go a little bit off track as they run down the hill. Schweid has done a really good job at getting crafty in the end of Sector 1, beginning of Sector 2. Not a typical place you would expect a move to be set up, using the element of surprise to his advantage. But all of a sudden, Ethan Ayers may want a slice of this pie as well. Just behind Maines and his RVA graphics machine getting in on the action too. And now it's Ayers who's under pressure. Popping to the outside is the 11. And Garrett Maines hanging on the outside. And that Widgeon car still there, and finally tries to tuck back into 7A. He's going to have to get it done into 9 if he wants to make that move stick. And a huge incident. It's the 80 car that is crumpled and has some significant front damage. Peyton Fayen has had some contact, or it doesn't look like there's a ton of bodywork contact. Was that maybe something mechanical that went down? Either way, that's halted her progress, and we've gone full course yellow.
Well, you noted earlier that that car suffered extensive damage in Arlington, and they were still working on preparing it for this race when we got here earlier in the week. And you just wonder if there could be something residual from the big crash at the street course earlier in the season. What a disastrous start to her sophomore season in Toyota GR Cup. 23rd place is what she was credited for in Arlington Race 1. Doesn't even get to start Race 2. Actually was having a pretty good comeback drive from the penalty, as we've noted a number of times here in the third race, but it all goes up in smoke.
In Arlington, before that collision as well, had been locked in a bunch of really good and tight mid-race battles too. So I think there's a lot more to come for Peyton Fayen than we've seen right now. Seeing some of the biggest movers. Massimo Sinceri, actually, a driver under the BSI 10 who I think flies under the radar a little bit, having himself a pretty decent race. Started near the back of the grid, has improved by 6 positions up in this race. Garrett Maines up at the sharp end in 7th, has improved by 5 positions, and he's been one to watch as well.
Yeah, Maines, I think, has been super impressive. This is the debut for Garrett in the championship. He wasn't in Arlington, won a prize, 25 grand to help secure this seat. He comes out of the NASA, National Autosport Association Amateur Championship, won the Mid-Atlantic Spec E30 Championship a year ago, and was the not the vice runner-up, he was 3rd in the NASA Nationals in the Spec E30 class last year. So comes from that kind of background, a lot of experience on the sim as well, has spent time as a professional sim racer, and through various means, including winning this contest that helped earn some money to apply towards a racing program, finds himself here with the RVA Graphics Motorsports by Speed Syndicate team. And I'll tell you what, this has been a really solid debut.
Yeah, absolutely. He should be very proud of this one. He's been locked in multiple battles with many drivers who have been around this series for at least a year, maybe even more, and he's hung right in there with him. The 11 car running in a very solid 7th place at the moment.
And one of the standout performers, I'd say, of this race so far. Haven't talked much about Will Robusto, who's having a good day too. Sits in 2nd, but it's happened behind Kohlbecker. We talk about the leader quite a bit, and then there's all the battles that we've been discussing behind Robusto. But this has been a really good day for Will. Back for another go-round here. A winner at this track a year ago. He had pole for race 2 and won it, and comes into this third in the championship, 18 points out on the strength of a fifth and a third in the season opener. Certainly someone with championship on his mind coming into 2026.
Well, I think so, because he wants to start the season as best he can. He led in the points early last year, and he said immediately coming into the season, before we even got to the start in Arlington, that after their accomplishments in 2025, there was no question he wanted to come back and finish what he started, and he's ready to go, and he wants his sights set on a championship as well. How many times have we heard that there's so many drivers that have their eyes set on what has become a pretty coveted title in just a couple years' time since this series launched in 2023. This has become one of the SRO series to win if you really want to springboard your career in this paddock.
Just look at what Toyota has done with the three previous champions of the series. Tyler Gonzalez, the last couple of years, has been racing at the GT4 level. He is back again this year, joined by the reigning champion of GR Cup, Weston Workman. Last year, it was Tyler and the champion of 2 years ago, Gresham Wagner, that were teamed up also in a Toyota product in the GT4 Supra. And right now, it's hard to say there's another manufacturer more heavily involved in racing generally, but road racing in particular, than Toyota is. From the grassroots level all the way on up, there's a pathway that's being built from grassroots racing into a series like this. You can go the touring car route, you can go the GT4 route. We know that Toyota, Lexus, Gazoo Racing, whatever you want to call it, has a new GT3 offering that's coming down the road as well. That's true, and in preparation for that, Toyota has now kind of more formalized a ladder system to get there, and GR Cup is one of the rungs on that ladder as well. GT4 competition too, but testing that car, developing that car, some of the drivers that we may see in that car later on, many of them will start in this series. Right, this is a great proving ground, and think about the lessons you get to learn here. You have a relatively low horsepower car, you learn about momentum, you learn about running in close proximity with other cars. You're building that relationship with the manufacturer like Toyota. A lot of these teams are involved at higher levels of motorsport too, so there's a potential to graduate within the team that you're driving for. A lot to recommend this series, and good prize money on offer. We shouldn't bypass that. That certainly, when it was announced, when the series was announced, what the purses were going to look like, that was something that sent some ripples through the single make world in the States, and other championships had to up the ante to keep up with Toyota and what they were bringing to the table. Yeah, it's about $1 million in prizes, all said and done, with the various awards that are handed out here and there, and for different things and different accolades that you can collect throughout a race weekend, throughout this course of a championship season. That's a very, very attractive product. $1 million is $1 million in total. I know that's divvied up, but even still, funding is a crucial part of motorsports at any level. It's a crucial part of motorsports at this level, and to get to the next level, that total $1 million in person prize money is absolutely going to help some of these drivers continue to have a bright future in racing. We look at the timing of the yellow, just about 11 minutes left on the clock here as it stands. I know race officials will try to get some racing in if they can, once, of course, it is safe to do so. That stricken car of Peyton Fan requiring recovery. The Toyota GR86 safety car, still leading Spike Kohlbecker, who was led right from the get-go. Had a little bit of contact with Jeremy Fletcher right off the start. Actually, I mean, just before they even hit the start-finish line. I think the two were banging wheels. Jeremy Fletcher's race has unfortunately unraveled since then, but you mentioned Will Robusto. He has had quite a quiet race, but he is absolutely someone who has come here to win. And he'd been kind of chipping away at the gap. If we do go racing, I don't think there will be anyone happier about it than Will Robusto, and maybe even Ethan Goulart, who can try to escape some of the battling that's been happening behind it, because it's been fierce. Yeah, I think you're right. That presents an opportunity. Not going to be much time left on the clock, but nevertheless, there should be an opportunity once this cleanup is complete, and it looks like they've been able to get the car on the attached to the tow truck, so that hopefully is indicative that the cleanup is nearing its conclusion. I'd also like to give a call to Mike Edwards there in 9th place. Just got a note. His dad won one road course race in his Cup Series career, and it was right here at Sonoma, 2014. Wow. Really big thanks to Rafael Santos, the statistician extraordinaire, letting me know that fun little tidbit. Oh, that's very cool.
And Mike will be thinking about that one in the Eagles Canyon car as well. He's got Malley, his teammate for company, down there at 9th and 10th. And Edwards has run a really solid race. We talked about him earlier, locked in some battles, a young driver with a very bright future and getting a real good taste of proper pro racing here. That's one of the beautiful things about this championship. It's an attractive product. If you're someone who's done well in life and you want a new challenge in GR Cup, it's an incredibly attractive product. If you're someone who is trying to cut their teeth in racing, maybe this is your first time in a proper race car. If you're transitioning from open wheel racing into the beautiful thing that is sports car racing, GR Cup is a great platform for that. It serves a lot of uses, but development, I think, is cheap among them.
Well, Mike said, frankly, that the Arlington weekend, it was a learning weekend for him. A lot of lessons that he was able to file away. Finishes of 19th and 15th. No points to take home from the first 2 races of the season. But a more traditional course here off the city streets. A course you can actually spend some time on a sim that's laser scanned it to try and prepare for things like that. And it's paid off in a big way, running inside the top 10 and 9th right now.
8 minutes and 20 seconds to go. Ryan, we are going to go racing. Look at the weaving to try to clean off some of the pickup. They will have tried to warm the brakes and tires behind the GR86 safety car, but Spike Kohlbecker now has a restart to contend with. Maybe picks up a little bit of understeer as he hits the loud pedal and starts to go green. Will Robusto will hunt him from behind. Green flag flies, and we're racing once again at Sonoma. And Ethan Goulart now has a race win on the table. That would be a huge step for him, but Spike Kohlbecker wants to solidify himself as the points leader once we head to tomorrow's race 2. But Will Robusto was not going anywhere, and not going anywhere is Max Schweid. He's hungry for more. He's had a busy race day, and he wants some more overtaking action as well. 2 by 2 they go. Kohlbecker from Robusto, who have broken away by just a few car lengths over Goulart and Schweid.
If anybody sees this as an opportunity, I have to think it's Schweid. Whoa, big lunge further back. Who was that? That was Ayers, I think, trying to get around DeLong, and he's done so, and he's brought company. It looks like Maines has been able to come on through.
Oh boy, that's a huge one, and losing out big time is DeLong, who had Schweid for company just a couple laps ago. 2 by 2 down the hill. This is a hard part of the racetrack to go door to door. Everybody leaving racing room for the time being, but DeLong now slipping back into the clutches of Sofronis. I wonder if he's got an issue. He is inexplicably losing pace, and losing pace quickly.
That is really strange. I tend to agree. That doesn't look like a car that's in full song for whatever reason, and that is heartbreaking for Parker, who had a really strong day going. Looks like he's set to fall out of the points here unless he can get things gathered back up again.
And this battle has resumed. Ethan Goulart holding Max Schweid at bay. I think a little bit too much of a gap, but here comes Schweid right back at him. Robusto isn't have enough for Kohlbecker in the braking zone, but Max Schweid closing up on the back of Ethan Goulart, and side by side, it's the number 11 further back of Garrett Maines, and multiple cars going off into the runoff and rejoining. Not a ton of contact, maybe a little bit, but the 78 was involved. There's a bunch of cars. Ethan Ayers is losing out after making a great move early on, and scampering away is Maines up the road, and Ethan Ayers now has the 17 for company in Malbec Ramos.
Also Mike Edwards there. Jensen Sofronis just threw it in deep around the outside, threw a haymaker there at Maley, but couldn't complete the pass. This is a great battle, a maelstrom in the back of the top 10. At the front, though, a couple of good fights as well. Kohlbecker, Robusto are nose to tail. Goulart and Schweid, as they have been seemingly the entire race.
I think Schweid's got the super glue out. He has not left Goulart alone, and Goulart will be trying to fend him off and swat him away so we can focus on Robusto in front, but the task at hand right now is not getting passed by Max Schweid. Defending to the inside is Goulart. Even further to the inside is Schweid, squealing Continental tires. Max Schweid banging doors, letting him know he's there, and the 98 car finally to the fore. He has been waiting and trying every trick in the book. He went off track, he lost position, he gained it back, and finally Max Schweid gets up into 3rd position.
You said he might have to try something different, something unconventional, and I don't know that we've seen anybody run that far to the inside in that corner. You saw how dirty and dusty it was. All the dust kicked up as he drove down there. Somehow was able to get it woed up, and he finally has that position. Now does he have enough time to do anything with the top 2?
Absolutely, and does Ethan Goulart have anything to fight him back, because Will Robusto further up the road is just half a second off the lead. There he is in the front of your shot, but Max Schweid will be trying to reel them in if he can. He's already separated just a little bit from the 72 car, but here's Spike Kohlbecker, who has controlled this race right from the get-go, but Will Robusto has hung on to him and shortcutting the chicane just a little bit, kicking up the dust. Will Robusto trying to bring that red liveried RVA graphics machine to the front of this field. He's just about half a second back. It's too far back to make a move, but these are the two at the sharp end of this field. That gap now up to 0.7 of a second as they hit turn 11.
DeLong in the pit lane, so there was some kind of an issue for Parker. That is so frustrating for him after a good start to his day. And should also note that Schweid was noted and warned for contact on that pass that he was finally able to make. No penalty, no sanction, just a warning, but he'll have to have that in the back of his mind if he were to catch the top two.
Yeah, that was anything but the favorable racing line, and Schweid still has Goulart for company. And Will Robusto still trying to reel in Spike Kohlbecker, who is unrelenting and unwilling to be caught at the head of this field. That beautiful blue Tech Sport racing car. He has a habit of driving bright race cars, doesn't he? Is Malbec Ramos dropping a wheel there just for a second behind the number 21 of Joseph Malley. That's Edwards, Mike Edwards up just ahead. This battle has continued to rage on.
Not sure anyone has a more perfect name to race in wine country than Malbec Ramos. I'm not sure that's what they grow here, but nevertheless, I couldn't help but think about that as I saw the name on the entry list. He's having a good day too. This is his rookie season. Did score points in the season opener, 9th place finish. 13th in race 2. It looks like he's going to have a career best result if he can keep this thing going as it is for the final 3 minutes.
Yeah, he's been a really, really impressive young man in the 17 car. Impressed around streets of Arlington course that literally nobody had ever seen before, and did a great job of it. He's continued to show that pace here. The only thing whining at the moment are the Continental tires underneath these drivers as we continue to see some of these battles further back, and there's a car in the grass. It's the 89, the Eagles Canyon Racing Machine, who looks like it's stayed out of the wall, but it's parked in a very difficult spot. It's Livo Galanti, the Italian driver, who's facing the right way, or now facing the right way.
It's the reigning Legends Cup champion.
Stay green for the time being. But that was nearly pretty hairy.
Oh, I would go as far as to say it was hairy, especially for those that were driving through the scene of the crime, but everyone able to continue on. I think he at the time had been also leading in the Legends subcategory for drivers with a little bit more life experience than some of these young hot shoes we've been talking about.
Either way, he's able to get that car pointed the right way. Brunson now in the 93 car leading in the Legends Cup that we saw presented by Wex Group a year ago. Patrick Brunson for Eagles Canyon, his tent mate, spinning and will lose ground, but notably kept it out of the tire wall. Schweid has started to separate just a little bit here from Ethan Goulart, 4.7 seconds off the lead. Will Robusto is 1.2 seconds off of Spike Kohlbecker, but now it's Schweid focusing forward, only has less than 90 seconds to do so, so barring a major mistake from Will Robusto, it'll be a hard-earned third place if it finishes as it does. I think his main task is making sure that Ethan Goulart does not repass him as Spike Kohlbecker comes down the S. But Ethan Goulart has had his hands full. He held on to third for a ton of that race. See the differences in sector times there around the 3 sectors of this racetrack. There's your race leader in Spike Kohlbecker taking the chicane. That gap may be cut visually down just a little bit to Will Robusto. Behind, it's still about 1.1 seconds. Will Robusto needs a mistake from Spike Kohlbecker, but he has been absolutely picture perfect. The only waiver was maybe some contact with Jeremy Fletcher at the beginning of the race. But other than that, it has been Spike leading the field. He contended with a restart as well. White flag is in the air as there are less than 30 seconds now on the racing clock. This will be the final lap of action around this 2.52-mile road course.
Spike from St. Louis, Missouri. This is his 4th year in the championship. He's never finished worse than 3rd in points. A year ago, won 2 races, one at Road America, the other at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. This would be his 2nd win in just 3 starts. He would match his total of a year ago in just 3 races if he was able to hang on.
Unbelievable, carrying that sponsorship from Ackerman Toyota that's been on the car since 2024. The 23-year-old from St. Louis trying to get it done here in Sonoma, and doing so in exciting fashion. Further back in the field, these battles continue to rage on. Mike Edwards with a little bit of separation from Joseph Malley behind, the Eagles Canyon driver. But out front, it's been Spike Kohlbecker's day. He comes down the drag strip now, slams the brakes into 7, tips the nose in. The Tech Sport driver has been just about tack perfect in that beautiful blue race car today, Ryan.
That's what you want to see, a driver with some experience joining the Tech Sport stable, rejoining the Tech Sport stable, really, after a couple of years there in the first 2 seasons of Toyota GR Cup. Left the fold a year ago, but comes back home, repaying the favor that the Anderson family has put in him with a great start to the year. First 2 races, a first and a second, just a couple of corners away from another race win.
And this is a huge one as well. When Jeremy Fletcher faltered, had a race that completely unraveled. This means Spike Kohlbecker will cement himself in the points lead when he leads Sonoma. Rounding the final quarter now, he started the race on pole, banged wheels with Jeremy Fletcher. He has led every racing lap of this one around Sonoma, now taking these little hairpin for the final time, onto the front straight for the final time, and taking the checkered flag. Spike Kohlbecker will win race 1 for GR Cup North America in Sonoma. Will Robusto will come home second. A hard-earned third for Max Schweid further back in the field. The battling continues, though. It's 4th place for Ethan Goulart. Garrett Maines will round out the top 5. And even further back, we're still trying to sort out the positions. Ethan Ayers will take 6th place. Malbec Ramos in Wine Country in 7th. Mike Edwards in 8th. 9th place, Joseph Malley. 10th place, Jensen Sofronis. But Spike Kohlbecker wins the day. Max Schweid comes to salute him and give him a little bit of a thumbs up. But what a day for Spike. He will be absolutely thrilled with his performance today.
He's the man of the hour, but the show today was Max Schweid,
yes,
wasn't he? He got shuffled forward and back. His day was like a yo-yo, right? Up and down, up and down. Finally ends up in 3rd place, and it took him till that final restart to get there. What a fantastic performance from him, and he'll just hope he has a bit more track position tomorrow and maybe doesn't have to fight so hard.
Absolutely, and hoping to keep it on the black stuff tomorrow as well. He had a trip off the grass right there on the run down to turn 7, and somehow kept the nose mostly clean, albeit with a little Sonoma grass in there, but managed to clean that off and make his way back up the order. Don't know how he did it, but he managed to get the job done. Spike Kohlbecker, though, not quite a dominant, I would say it was a dominant performance today. He led the way from start to finish, contended with a restart, and he's the winner of the day. Ethan Goulart, though, with 4th place. Let's take a look at how we all finished here. Tech Sport Racing victorious. It's an RVA Graphics 2-3 with Will Robusto and Max Schweid. BSI Racing will settle for 4th with Ethan Goulart, who ran in the podium positions for much of this race. 3 RVA cars in the top 5 with Garrett Maines. Ethan Ayers for BSI is 6th. Tech Sport Racing's Malbec Ramos in 7th. 8th place, though, on the grid belongs to Mike Edwards. Joseph Malley for Eagles Canyon Racing by Fast Track in 9th. Jensen Sofronis, a great top 10 drive for the young Copeland driver as well. Nathan Dupuis in 11th for Copeland. Emilio DeLauro for BSI Racing in the 007 in 12th place. Liam Harrison's Black Dog Racing car, a new entry, a new team for this year for 13. Jarek Oderick further down the order. Brunson in the Legends class, a factor in this race as well, will take the Legends win as well after Levo Galanti suffered some late race drama. We mentioned Jeremy Fletcher and how his race unraveled at the end. He'll be looking to bounce back tomorrow in race 2. I think he'll be driving with a head full of steam and maybe some red mist as well. Peyton Fayen, comeback effort cut short. Beltray Curtis ran into some signage earlier. That hindered his efforts. He spent a couple laps in pit lane as he got that all cleaned up. A chaotic race, Ryan, but a really exciting one for the 3rd round of this championship.
It was everything that was advertised. You had close quarters racing. You had some up-and-coming stars that were trying to make their name. And at the end of the day, a deserving winner in Spike Kohlbecker, who, you're exactly right, capitalized on the misfortune of his closest championship rival. Admittedly, just 3 races into the season, a little early to be tallying up points too closely. But even still, you figure that Fletcher is going to be in the championship mix all year long. And on a day when he doesn't get a result, doesn't score points, to maximize your points, that's mission accomplished for Kohlbecker.
Absolutely. We'll still go qualifying to set the grid later for race 2 after this, but before then, Spike Kohlbecker will get to celebrate before he has to focus forward, pumps the fist, and number 1 in the air, that beautiful all-black helmet, raises a hand to the many fans in attendance, and they got a heck of a show here. I'm so glad that everyone got to come out around Sonoma that's attended and bought a ticket and got to see some of the closest racing I think you'll see in any category all throughout the weekend. GR Cup never disappoints. This race threw a little bit of everything at us, I think, today.
It did. And there's Steven Anderson, part of the ownership group at Tech Sport, great driver in his own right. Scott Blind, who's going to be racing GT3 this weekend, he supported Spike early in Spike's career as a sponsor.
Wow.
And actually, that's what got Scott into racing. It's going to be one of the fun stories over the course of this weekend, so neat to see him come over to share the moment.
No kidding. That's incredible to see. With that, Amanda's down in victory lane with our race winner.
And such a great day to take advantage of some points implications that we might see later on in this championship. But Spike, when you look at your season, 2 wins in 3 races, what's been the difference maker for you this season?
Oh man, good off season. I've just been happy and enjoying life and racing fast, and Tech Sport has just given me an amazing car. Oh man, I was conserving the tires at the beginning, and the car just wanted to keep going. So a little late race caution there, but nothing we can't handle.
Scott Blind just came over and hugged you. He's going to race right after this, but he's been a big part of your career. What would you say to him?
Yeah, Scott has really boosted my career when I was younger, and I can't thank him enough, along with my other sponsors, and much appreciated to them. Thank you.
Well done, Spike.
Thanks.
Hard to believe, Ryan, that Spike might have even had a little bit more in the tank if he was conserving his Continental tires in the beginning of that race, because that's when he opened up, I think, the biggest gap that he enjoyed all day long. That's pretty impressive to see. If you're Jeremy Fletcher, I might be thinking about that one tomorrow.
I think you're right. That would be a message sent to the rest of this field.
Let's take a look at how the day unfolded for the 3rd round of the championship of the first race of the weekend here in sunny Northern California. The green flag flying, and there was drama right from the start. As soon as they crossed the start-finish line, pole sitter Spike Kohlbecker banging wheels with Jeremy Fletcher. Beltray Curtis off into the grass collecting some signage that would hamper his efforts. Jeremy Fletcher's day unfolded and unraveled, and it began with taking the curbs and locking up. Max Schweid was on the attack earlier. He had DeLong for company. He had plenty of drivers for company, but Max Schweid carved his way through the field. He came all the way through into 3rd, had Ethan Goulart for company. Peyton Fayen had a mechanical issue that unraveled her race, put us behind the yellow flag. We went green with just under 10 minutes to go. Spike Kohlbecker controlled things perfectly, and that's what got Max Schweid up into 3rd position, but it was Spike Kohlbecker's day. He wins over Will Robusto and Max Schweid here in Sonoma.
Your Legends winner, Patrick Bunson, and you just seem like you're having so much fun this year.
Yeah, no, I'm having a blast. It was a little rough start, had some contact with some teammates, but was able to keep it clean the rest of the race and make it back to win the Legends race again. So it's 3 for 3.
That's it for race number 1 here in Sonoma. For Jonathan Grace and Ryan Marine, I'm Amanda Busick. We're back for race number 2 in Toyota GR Cup tomorrow.